You just moved into a house with your husband and your first child. Your husband is loving, he's intelligent, he's kind, he's an amazing father. Everything's going super well. Your husband goes on a business trip. And at some point you can't reach him, so you call his friend slash coworker asking if he's heard from him, and his friend tells you to go to the hospital with zero context. So you're on your way to the hospital, you get to the hospital, you're thinking the worst, and then you find your husband in the waiting room. Then the two of you are approached by a detective. You find out that his secretary was found naked, unconscious, in his hotel room on his work trip. And then he tells you that his secretary has been stalking him for the past 2 weeks. You believe him? Today we're going to be discussing the 2009 film Obsessed, starring Beyonce Knowles Carter, which do I need to say her full name? You know who Beyonce is. Idris Elba and Ali Larter. We have our married couple, Derek and Sharon, played by Idris Elba and Beyonce Knowles Carter. And Derek works in an office. He requires a secretary for his job. So his secretary, by Sharon's demand, is a man. But his secretary is out sick, so he has a temp, Lisa, who is played by Ali Larter. And the reason why Sharon is adamant about him having a male secretary is because she was previously his secretary before they got married and had a baby and moved into a brand new house. So you see Lisa is growing fond of Derek. Things progress very quickly. So he's being very friendly and encouraging with her. He's not, I wouldn't say he's being flirtatious, he's just being friendly. Somehow she perceives this as something else entirely different and becomes obsessed with him. He eventually gets his male secretary back, and you would think Lisa would be out of the picture, but she's not. She ends up temping for another secretary, and so she's still in the picture. So while she's working at the company, Lisa and Derek go to the company's Christmas party. They don't necessarily go together, and for some reason the Christmas party doesn't allow spouses, so Sharon is home with the kid. So before this, Lisa already is expressing characteristics of somebody that's developing a crush and or an obsession, but nothing compares to what happens at the Christmas party. And this is kind of where shit hits the fan and where concerns are raised. So they're at the Christmas party, and Lisa basically just goes for it. She corners him in a bathroom stall and essentially tries to jump him. By jump him, I mean, jump him. Derek, being the loyal husband that he is, completely rejects her and declines and leaves the Christmas party immediately. He was already on his way out to go back home to his wife and kid, but he decides to stop in the bathroom, and that is where Lisa joins him. Now this is where things fuck up entirely. He goes home to his wife and does not tell her what has happened. So mind you, he hasn't done anything wrong besides not tell his wife what went down. So he goes back to work, and Lisa is there and is like pretending that nothing has happened. That is until Derek finds himself alone in the parking garage of his office. Lisa just pops into his car. She's wearing a trench coat and she's apologizing for the Christmas party, and she was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I think I came on a little strong." And he was like, "It's fine, don't worry about it. We were drinking," and like basically trying to brush it off. She unleashes her body. She's wearing like practically nothing underneath the trench coat, like she's wearing like lingerie, and so he gets very upset and is like, "Get out of this car," like he's upset, livid. And now let's talk about all these loyalty points that Derek is racking up at this point. But let's talk about the stupidity points, because he still does not tell his wife what happened. After the parking garage incident, he does intend on telling Sharon. He goes home immediately trying to find her. This woman is sitting in the dark with a bottle of wine, clutching the phone in her hand. And so he's like, what is going on? And apparently she just got off the phone with her sister, who found out that her husband was sleeping with a woman at work. And so it's just bad timing. I'll give him that. That was not the best timing to tell her what was going on, but I feel like it still should have come up. And I feel like just as a sister and as a woman, she was already contemplating like, man, if I was ever in a situation like that. And so now he has to like console her and be like, you'll never be in a situation like that. So he confides in his best friend slash coworker, aka Kangaroo Jack, is in this movie, and he is like, I need to tell the job what's going on. Like, I need to tell HR what is going on. And his friend, for some reason, is discouraging of that because he's worried that Lisa will flip it back onto Derek and say that he came on to her, which I can understand that concern, but I would have still spoken up just because the first person that speaks up is usually the one that's believed. I think he should have. And he does. He goes to tell HR, or he goes to tell his boss what's been going on, and the boss cuts him off before he can even begin to tell him what's been going on with Lisa. And his boss basically says that she quit, and so Derek kind of sees that as, okay, like, I now have nothing to worry about. Like, I don't need to tell my boss. I don't need to tell my wife. She's out of my life. There's no reason that I would ever see her again, right? So Christmas goes by. Him, Sharon, and their son Kyle have a wonderful, beautiful Christmas together. They go out for New Year's, come back home, and Derek is surprised with an email, multiple emails from Lisa. And it's like, I guess you could say a sexy photo of her. It really looked like, the photo I could best describe as like an early 2000s style. She had like a fedora on and some pearls. Like, it was very busy, a lot of accessories going on. So he's trying to exit out all of these photos that she has just spammed him with. Sharon comes up behind him and is like, what was that? Another missed opportunity to tell her what has been going on. And he doesn't tell her. So he ends up messaging Lisa from his work laptop, and it's like, leave me alone. And I have to mention this part because it's very strange. There's a very tense scene. So he sends her a message telling her to leave him alone. Lisa replies back with this emoji, and there's just a stare down that goes a little bit too long for me between Derek and the emoji. And then the emoji is just sitting there. Y'all, like, I swear to God, a whole 20 minutes goes by, I'm exaggerating, and the emoji winks. Derek goes on a work trip, and guess who pops up? Lisa. So he's on his work trip. Lisa pops up, of course. She sends him a drink from the bar, and the romper that she's wearing is like way too cute. But we won't get into that. I'm digressing. So Derek's on the phone with Sharon, and Lisa is approaching him while he's on the phone. So he's like, hey, I gotta hang up. I gotta call you back. And he's obviously very upset with her. While they're having this interaction, Derek turns his head for a second, and she spikes his drink. Lisa spikes Derek's drink, and essentially she assaults him. There's no other way to put it. He's unconscious and in his hotel room at this point. Whatever drug she gave him kicked in, and the scene alludes to him being assaulted. So then he wakes up the next morning groggy. She's gone. He goes into a meeting. He's late because he was drugged and slept through his alarm. While he's in the meeting, the host of the hotel goes in and is like, hey, sir, your wife is outside waiting for you. So he's like, oh my God, Sharon's here. So he goes outside, and it's Lisa. Lisa posed as his wife to get access to his room. Honestly, I would have sued the hotel for that, because how on earth can you do that? She basically told the hotel that she was his wife and wanted to surprise him. And so he rejects her yet again, which all these loyalty points, there's dumb points. There's now victim points added to the board. But loyalty points stand strong. And so he rejects Lisa yet again. So after his meeting, he goes back to his hotel room. Lisa is unconscious, naked in his bed. So then we cut to Sharon, who has been trying to get a hold of Derek this entire time. She calls his coworker / best friend. His best friend is like, you need to go talk to him. He's at the hospital. She goes to the hospital. He's there. There's a detective there because, he had to call 911, and he had to call 911 because Lisa was unconscious and he didn't know if she was dead or what was going on. So he had to call somebody. The detective is asking him questions, and he's trying to explain that Lisa is obsessed with him. And in only a matter of 2 weeks, she's obsessed with him and has created this whole fantasy about them being together and about him leaving Sharon. So Sharon is hearing all of this for the first time in the hospital with the detective from Derek, as opposed to when all of this stuff started popping off. So he's explaining chronologically, like, she came on to me at the Christmas party, she came on to me in the parking garage, she showed up at the hotel, and this is all the first time Sharon is hearing this. And oh my God, I feel like dumbest character. I'm not sure what his thought process was in not telling her, because typically when you have movies with this particular trope, and like, okay, think of movies like Swim Fan, Fatal Attraction, The Boy Next Door. The person who is being stalked does not tell their significant other what's going on because they participated in an affair. But Derek, in this instance, is completely innocent as far as not cheating and being loyal to his wife. He's innocent. He didn't sleep with her, but he's facing the consequences as if he has. His job is compromised. because they're worried that Lisa is gonna hit them with a lawsuit saying that they had an inappropriate work relationship. His marriage is obviously compromised because it's difficult, because it's like you want to believe him, and I feel like he would have benefited a lot from telling Sharon, because if he told Sharon, I feel like, one, she could have been a voice of reason and been like, look, this is how we're gonna handle it, because I think as a man, maybe he was afraid of speaking up, just because you typically, I won't say you typically don't see men in those types of situations. It happens, obviously. There was a documentary I seen on Netflix one time about it, but it happens, obviously, but not often enough, I feel, for him to be confident to speak on it and be like, hey, this is what's going on. Like, you see, he was worried that by going to his boss and going to HR, that it was somehow going to be flipped back onto him. I think he would have benefited from telling Sharon, because then at least when the detective is asking him these questions and when his job is asking him these questions, she could be like, oh no, this has been a problem for the past 2 weeks. I've known about this, and this woman is absolutely insane. And I guess my question is for you, would you believe your significant other if this is how you found out? Because I'll be honest, I would want to believe my partner, but I also watch too many true crimes, too much where there are people who get married and they don't know who they actually married. I don't know if you've heard the podcast Betrayal, or if you've seen the documentary on Hulu. That to me would make me question who I married, because if you're innocent, if you didn't do anything, why not say anything? But he was worried about looking guilty. He said he was embarrassed. Sharon eventually kicks him out of the house because, she doesn't know what to believe at this point. And more months go by. Sharon and Derek essentially decide to stay together. They go to dinner, decide to make their marriage work. They come home and their son is missing. And oh my gosh, let's talk about the most reckless babysitter that I've ever seen in my life. Which probably isn't true, but it was just ridiculous. So let me tell you how Lisa finessed her way into their home and took their baby while the babysitter was there. So Lisa was stalking them the entire time, obviously, because she knew that they were going to be out of the house. Lisa knocks on the door, the babysitter answers, and she's like, hey, I have a gift for Kyle. Like, can I go up and see him? And she's like, oh, well, I'm not comfortable with that. His parents aren't home. Like, so no. And she was like, okay, no worries. Like, Sharon must have forgot that I was supposed to come through. Like, she's pretending to be Sharon's friend. So she pretends to call her. She's like, I'll call her so you feel comfortable. Lisa pretends to call Sharon, and she's like, oh my God, like, don't be mad at her. Relax. Like, oh my God, please calm down. And so the babysitter's like, oh shit, like, I fucked up. She's pissed. And she's like, do you need to talk to her? So the babysitter thinks that Sharon is like upset with her. So she's like, no, it's okay. Like, I don't want to talk to her, which is insane. I would have been like, I guarantee you, if that babysitter did agree to talk to Sharon on the phone, Lisa would have hit her upside the head. Lisa would have probably knocked her out, because it's like, what do you do in that situation? You've been caught lying. So Lisa goes upstairs, takes Kyle, walks out the front door with the damn baby. The babysitter isn't paying attention. Like, she's just watching TV. Lisa sees herself out, and the babysitter's just like, okay, bye, whatever. They come home. Sharon and Derek come home. They're happy. They're back in love again. And they go and see that Kyle is gone. And the babysitter's like, oh, you just missed your friend. And she was like, yeah, you just missed her. And she was like, like, nobody was supposed to be over here. I don't even have a friend by that name, whatever fake name that Lisa gave her. So then they call the detective, and now it's very clear that Derek wasn't crazy, or that Derek wasn't making this up, and that Lisa is actually stalking them, and Lisa's the problem. So they get a security system. Sharon calls Lisa and is basically like, please try this again. Like, please come put your hands on my son again. And Lisa says, say less. Derek and Sharon are going on a trip to go visit Sharon's parents for their anniversary. Lisa gets information, finds out who's going to be where, and is going to pull up at the house. So initially, Sharon was supposed to go to her parents, and Derek was going to leave from work, or go to work, from work, go home, and leave from there. So Lisa's like, bet, I'm gonna go meet my man at his house while Sharon is gone. So Sharon leaves. Lisa breaks into the house. Sharon realizes that she forgot to turn the alarm on. She forgot her bag. She forgets something. She goes back into the house. Here's Lisa there. She does not ring the alarm. She said, I'm going to handle this myself. They get into this huge fight, and Lisa's like actually so deluded. It's scary. Where she's like, we didn't want you to find out this way. And I would be like, yo, this is insane. It was just too much. So then they get into this fight. Lisa ends up losing the fight, like RIP losing the fight. She falls from the attic, a chandelier falls on her. Lisa is no more. The story concludes. Derek and Sharon embrace each other. And that's how the movie ends. And I don't even know if I would have been able to get that far into the movie, because I'm telling you, I would have probably gotten a divorce as soon as I found everything out. Him not telling her was such a weird thing to do. And it was such a frustrating thing, because the whole time you're like, please tell your wife. Please tell your wife. The whole time you're watching, you're like, please tell your wife. And you're also like, oh, you're so happy for Sharon, because I'm like, damn, she has the most loyal husband that I've ever seen. Because when I tell you, Lisa was laying it on very thick, which is great, which is what he was supposed to do as a husband. But I feel like as a husband, he was also supposed to tell his wife what was going on. If I was in a situation like that, I would be like, yo, I'm telling on you. I'm telling immediately. Like, I'm snitching. And I hope my partner crashes out on you, because this is insane. Overall, the movie was definitely entertaining. It stressed me out a great deal. And I think it was a nice change of pace from movies of that, with that particular concept. Because like I said, it's like you have the Fatal Attractions, The Swim Fan, and all of those movies, the person actually cheated and had an affair. And I think when you're watching those movies, you kind of have the thought process of like, oh, yikes, I hope they get out of this situation. But also at the same time, like, it's like they kind of put themselves in that situation. And when I tell you Derek didn't do a damn thing to encourage, like, he was very friendly and polite with Lisa, but just like, I don't know, like, I feel like you can't, I wouldn't want, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this, because I would want my husband to be a gentleman to all, to be the type of man that be walking old ladies across the street and stuff. But I will say there was a particular scene where I was like, okay, Derek, like, you're laying it on a little too thick right now, where Lisa is crying in the break room. He almost walks out, but then turns back around and is like, hey, is everything okay? And she's like, I'm having men problems. And he was like, hey, it'll be okay. You're an attractive young lady and you'll find the right guy. And she took that and ran with it. She Shakari Richardson's that. She ran with it. And I guess in Derek's defense, he probably didn't expect things to escalate the way that they did. But as soon as she popped up in that parking garage, honestly, the Christmas party, as a wife, I would want to know immediately. And then it's like, I feel like if he confided in his wife a lot sooner, it would have been easier for her to trust him. And I do think it is a matter of knowing your partner. Like, if I was married to like a golden retriever boyfriend, if we're married, he's my husband. I was married to a golden retriever man, a golden retriever of a man, and I know he might have some dumb tendencies, but his heart is always in the right place, I could see myself believing him. Otherwise, I just kind of feel like I would have a hard time grasping that all of this shit has gone down and he hasn't said anything. And I think it would have been more disparaging if it was over the span of months, but it was literally over the span of 2 weeks. And I get that he also didn't want to put Sharon in the headspace of being concerned about their marriage, because she was already concerned about Lisa from the jump. Like, as soon as she seen he had a female temp or female secretary, she was like, no, like, we talked about this. And he explained that he doesn't control who the company sends to his desk, but that his original male secretary would be back eventually. And so it was just bad, because it's like, imagine already having a suspicion or a hunch that something is off. And her suspicion was right. She knew that there was something off with Lisa. And that's one thing that I find frustrating about men. And I know women do it too. But it's like, if you're in a relationship with your man and you clock girls saying and doing certain things that is suspicious and is not on the up and up, and your man is like, oh, I didn't notice. And it could be that he genuinely didn't notice or like he's playing dumb. I don't know. Either way, I'm frustrated. And it's only a frustrating thing when your partner doesn't listen to you, when they choose to not listen to you despite you expressing your concerns. Like I see that a lot with guys too, with their girlfriends. They have male friends that very clearly want to smash, and the girls are like, well, I don't want to, so it shouldn't count. And it's like, I don't care that you don't want to. Like, that's still kind of disrespectful to me. Like, why keep that around at all? But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. Would you believe him? Would you take his word for it? But okay, that's all that I have for you today. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, a wonderful holiday season. Okay, bye.